Dear friends, welcome back to Data Analytics Talks. This is our seventh session under the Azure Data Engineer Learning Series. In this session, I am going to give you an introduction to Azure Data Lake Gen2. Azure Data Lake Storage Gen2 is built on Azure Blob Storage with all the features of Azure Data Lake Storage Gen1. You won't see a separate service as Azure Data Lake Gen2 in the Azure portal, but you can create Azure Data Lake Gen2 as you create Azure Blob Storage itself. I hope you have a fair idea of what is Azure Storage Account and Azure Blob Storage. We have covered them very detail in the last two sessions. If you have any doubt about Azure Storage Account or Azure Blob Storage, please check out those videos and proceed with this one. However, we will have a recollection of what we have learned at a high level. So starting, what is an Azure Storage Account? It is a service for storing different types of data in cloud. A storage account is created first, and the storage account provides a unique namespace for different types of Azure storage data accessible from anywhere in the world over HTTP or HTTPS. And what are the key features of Azure Storage? The key features are durable and highly available. It is secure, it is scalable, it is managed and accessible from anywhere. And the Azure Storage has a data redundancy model. So what is a data redundancy model? Data redundancy helps to maintain high availability and durability of stored data in case of any type of failure or outage. That's very important for any data storage. So there are four different redundancy models. When the availability increases, the cost also increases. Please remember that. So the appropriate redundancy model should be selected based on the nature and requirement of the data stored. Mainly we have four types of redundancy models. They are locally redundant storage, LRS, zone redundant storage, it is ZRS. Zone means availability zones. Then we have geo redundant storage, GRS. Geo means geography. Then we have geo zone redundant storage, GZRS. Please remember this if you want to go for your exam, the different types of data redundancy models. Along with that, we also understood there are different storage types. So mainly there are 5 storage types. We have Azure Blobs. What are we storing in Azure Blobs? We are storing massive amount of unstructured data. Then we have Azure Files. Already you have heard about file share. Yeah, similarly, a fully managed file share in the cloud accessible using server message block protocol and network file system protocol. Then we have Azure Queue, the service for storing large number of messages. These messages are accessible from anywhere in the world using HTTP or HTTPS with required authentication. Then we have Azure Tables, so stores non-relational structured data in the cloud. Azure Tables provides a key and attribute store with a schemaless design. The table storage is useful for storing different flexible data set like user data for web application, address book, device information, or any service metadata. Then finally, we have Azure Disk. So block level storage volume managed by Azure and used with Azure Virtual Machine. So Azure Disk are like a physical disk in an on-premises server but virtualized. Okay, this is what we have learned in the last session about Azure Storage. So coming to the blob storage. The blob storage may store different types of unstructured data. It may store or serve any document or image to a web browser. It may stream videos and audio files. It may store data for analytics and reporting, and it stores data for record management, backup, and restore and archival. There are 3 blob types: block blobs, append blobs, page blobs. I hope you remember that there are 3 access tiers: hot, cold, and archive. Hot is optimized for data access frequently. It has the highest storage cost and lowest access cost as compared to the other two tiers. What should be stored in hot? Data which is in active use or expected to be read from or written to should be kept in hot tier. Then what about cool? Cool has lower storage cost and higher access cost compared to hot storage. Data which is not used frequently but expected to be available immediately when required should be stored in cool tier. Data should remain in this tier for at least 30 days. Then finally we have the archive tier. Has the lowest storage cost but higher data retrieval cost as compared to the hot and cool tiers. Data should remain in this tier for at least 180 days. Otherwise, a deletion charge needs to be paid. Blob data is offline in the active storage and should be rehydrated to online tier, hot or cool, before accessing in the archive tier. However, blob metadata remains online and can be used to list the blob. This is all about blob storage. Now we are going to the important part. We have Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 1 and we will cover Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2. So we are going to have a detailed explanation of the Data Lake Storage Gen 1 and Gen 2 for anyone who is either a data engineer or someone who is aspiring to become a data engineer. The knowledge of the Azure Data Lake Storage is very critical. As you see in the screen, the storage is where the whole data is stored and processed. But unfortunately, we should not use ADLS Gen 1 for any new projects. If you go to Azure portal, you will find Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 1 service. This is a legacy service and it is recommended to use ADLS Gen 2. Don't use Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 1 for any new project. But why I am introducing Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 1 here? It is just to highlight the key ADLS Gen 1 capabilities that are included in ADLS Gen 2. In the first slide itself, I told ADLS Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2 is built on Azure Blob Storage and with all the features of Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 1. So to highlight some of the features, so ADLS Gen 1 is an Apache Hadoop file system that is compatible with the Hadoop distributed file system HDFS and works with the Hadoop ecosystem. Since you are new to data engineering, this terminology may be new to you. Don't worry. If you don't know what is Hadoop, it is an open source platform that focuses on simplifying distributed data processing. To work with the Hadoop ecosystem, your data needs to be stored in HDFS. Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 1 supports HDFS. Secondly, ADLS Gen 1 supports virtually unlimited storage. Individual files can range from kilobytes to petabytes in size. That's a big advantage. Then access control list ACLs can be implemented to manage access to your data in ADLS Gen 1. Then finally, ADLS Gen 1 can be accessed via the file system prefixed by ADL://. The ability to access data in this way allows for potential optimization, particularly in big data analytics scenarios. These are the major features that supported by ADLS Gen 1. We are moving to Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2. So now we have come to our main topic, which is Azure Data Lake Gen 2. Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2 emerged from the following simple equation. Azure Blob Storage plus Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 1 equal to Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2. So we have already covered Azure Blob Storage. We also seen Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 1. In this session itself, we have full coverage of Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2, isn't it? So ADLS Gen 2 truly is a result of converging the capabilities of two storage services, Azure Blob Storage and Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 1. Then what is the result? We get the best of two worlds. The file system semantics, directory and file level security capabilities from ADLS Gen 1 are combined with a low-cost tiered storage, high availability disaster recovery capabilities from Azure Blob Storage. So ADLS Gen 2 was designed with a big data analytics in mind and is a key component in modern data analytics, data science, and data warehouse architecture. So a fundamental component of ADLS Gen 2 is the addition of a hierarchical namespace to blob storage. To explain what this term really means, I think about the file explorer on your computer. Unlike blob storage, you have the ability to create a folder structure with a hierarchy in your ADLS Gen 2 account. So when we created the blob storage, we did not have the ability to create a directory within a container. When it comes to ADLS Gen 2, we have the capability of creating this kind of folder structure. I will show you how to do that later. Besides providing a familiar interface style for developers, the hierarchical namespace is preferred when working with big data analytics framework like Hive and Spark. So beside hierarchical namespace, ADLS Gen 2 has several other notable capabilities. It has ABFS, Azure Blob File System, is available within all Apache Hadoop environments and allows for other Azure services to access data stored in ADLS Gen 2. These services include Azure HD Insight, Azure Databricks, Azure Synapse Analytics. The ABFS driver is optimized specifically for big data analytics. In Data Lake Gen 2, we have ABFS file system capability. Then both ACL and POSIX permissions plus additional granularity specific to ADLS Gen 2 are supported. Then fourth, data stored in ADLS Gen 2 is not required to be moved or transferred prior to performing analysis, reducing the required transaction cost. Then finally, ADLS Gen 2 provides the same data redundancy and access tier offering as Azure Blob Storage. So the key features of Data Lake Gen 2, remember performance, easier management, security, cost effectiveness, optimized driver, Hadoop, compatible access, and scalability, multiple usage. From a feature perspective, that's all I have about the Gen 2. Now we would like to have a demo of how to create a Data Lake Storage Gen 2. So far we have been seeing some of the characteristics of Data Lake Gen 2. So now it is time for us to create a Data Lake Storage Gen 2. You know, the creation of Data Lake Storage Gen 2 is similar to how we create a blob storage. So in the previous session, we have covered in detail on how to create a blob storage. And I'm not going to repeat that. See, there are some key updates that we need to do while creating a blob storage to convert a blob storage into a Data Lake Storage Gen 2. That's what we are going to check in this session. So one of the key difference from a blob storage and the Data Lake Storage Gen 2 is the hierarchical namespace, the ability to create additional folders within a container and to have a folder structure is the major difference. Okay, so we will see how we can achieve that. So if you have already created a blob storage, Microsoft Azure provides you an option to upgrade to Gen 2 if all the conditions are met. So there is an option, you go to the Azure portal, there is a Data Lake Gen 2 upgrade button, then you can review and agree to changes. So this is a natural way of upgrading from blob storage to Data Lake Gen 2. I'm not going to follow this path. We will start creating a new Data Lake Gen 2 storage. We need to follow the same. Go to Azure portal, click on resource, then select storage account, then give the project information, the name of the subscription, then resource group, then storage account name, then which region you are going to create your blob storage or the data lake Gen2 storage. Then you can see the performance where it is standard one or premium one. Then I already mentioned that the redundant methods, so I can select locally redundant or geo redundant and so on. Then moving on, under the advanced tab, there is something called enable large file share. I think this is recommended to have enabled for this data lake Gen2. Under the advanced, you also find there is something called enable hierarchical namespace. So I mentioned that unlike data lake Gen1, there is no separate service for data lake storage Gen2 in the portal. The major configuration or major feature that need to enable is enable hierarchical namespace. So as soon as you enable hierarchical namespace, you are taking the first step towards creating a data lake storage Gen2. If you don't opt, your storage become a blob storage. If you opt for it, your storage become a hierarchical or data lake storage Gen2. And you know, only when you enable this feature only you can see that enable SFTP, enable network file system options enabled. What's the key? Key is the enable hierarchical namespace. When I enable the hierarchical namespace, I am able to choose enable SFTP. I am able to choose enable network file system v3. And you know, you can opt for access tier, which is hot or cool. Again, this is coming from the Azure Blob Storage. This is coming from Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 1. That's where I'm saying Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2 is equal to Azure Blob Storage plus Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 1. The network configuration, it is optional. So do you want to enable public access from selected virtual networks and IP? That is optional. You can choose whatever you want. Then you can choose the virtual networks, then virtual network routing. So it is time for review. I can see whether I have enabled the hierarchical namespace. Yes, it is enabled. And other features also I have enabled this enable network file system v3. Then my tier is cool because I may not this data is not very frequently used, but it is used. Okay, validate other options whether you have selected the right thing. So the deployment is complete. You can see what are the components are completed under this resource creation. This is where we can see that your hierarchical namespace is enabled, the tier is cool. We have created the data lake storage Gen 2. So as I mentioned, the first thing that you are going to create a container. How to create a container? You can give the name for the container. I given the web logs as a container name. It will be created by click on the create button. So I have created my container called weblogs. And what I am expecting in this container, I am expecting weblog from my website. So it will come every minute, every second, and every hour, every day. I can create a folder structure from a device. Okay, so first folder subfolder is 2023 10/01. That means for the October 1st 2023 I am creating a folder. Under that I have created few subfolders which is representing every hour, hour 1, hour 2, hour 3, hour 4. Then you can see that how the explorer shows. So we have a storage browser, and the storage browser you can see the storage name, Then I can see blob containers. By default, the log container is created. Then I created a container called weblogs. Under these weblogs, I created a directory. Under that, I have multiple subdirectories. This never existed in the blob storage. You remember? Then under each folder, so here you can see that I have gone further in my folder structure. So we have the date, hour, then minute. Okay. Then I am expecting some files to be uploaded to my minute folder. I can upload a folder using this upload button. It is uploaded to minute folder, and the tier I can choose the tier to hot. Okay. And even I can click on the file name, then it gives you an overview of the file, where the file is under the blob, the date, hour, minute, and my file name. Every file addition will be listed below. So I can see a URL for the file which I can access from anywhere using HTTP or HTTPS. It is giving you additional metadata of the file. And I can change the tier. I can give acquire lease, and I can delete, I can refresh, I can download. All the features are available in this storage. Then if you would like to see the URL, it is like that's gen2 blob.core.windows.net weblog, then 2023 1001 101 news.csv. So this is a URL that you can access. If anonymous access is enabled, anybody can access. But if there is any authentication implemented, authenticates first and get access to the system. Here I can change the tier. I already mentioned there are hot, cool, again cold, then archive. These are the different tiers. Once you created a storage account, it will be found under the recent tab. I have a resource group, I have a blob storage, and I also have a storage account for Data Lake Gen2. So this is all about Data Lake Storage Gen2, the features, and how to create your first Gen2 Data Lake storage. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you find it useful, please like, share, and subscribe this channel. Don't forget to share this with your friends and colleagues too. Thank you.